Hey guys, Mike with KC Tarantulas here. I know what you're thinking. Mike, aren't you supposed to be traveling right now for your wife to get surgery? Yes I am. I recorded this before I left, so currently right now for me is before I left, but right now for you guys is about a week and a half later. But just wanted to give you guys something while I was gone that I had thought you might enjoy. So, what is it? Well, today I received in the mail a package from a company named Lugarti. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Lugarti. And they sent me this product here, which is premium Tarantula Substrate. So it's substrate that is made specifically for tarantulas, and it has their needs and concerns and things like that thought of when they made this. Now it's supposed to be a mix of, it is a mix of sphagnum moss, they said fine sand, and then some clay. And those things together are supposed to make a substrate that is better suited for tarantulas. Which, if you think about it, kind of makes sense. Sphagnum moss, I tend to put dried sphagnum moss into my enclosures anyways to hold on to moisture. So that will retain moisture. The sand will wick away the moisture from the top layer and into the rest of it below, which is a good thing. And then the clay is most likely used to make sure that the substrate has some control to it, some rigid, something for if they burrow, it won't just immediately fall on the tarantula's head like sand would. Don't mind the kitty. So those three things combined, if you think about it, sounds like it would be a good combination. So we're going to find out. It's really dark. It looks like some really fertile topsoil. It looks darker than the cocoa fiber I normally get. And so I have a couple of ways that I think that I'm going to test it out. First of all, I'm going to get two enclosures with no tarantulas in them, two small old sling enclosures that I had, and I'm going to put this in one of them, and I'm going to put regular cocoa fiber in another, and I'm going to wet them down, and we're just going to see what happens, how fast the moisture leaves the container, if there's any mold that shows up, because I'm going to make sure there's pretty good. I'm going to add more water in there than I normally would if there was a tarantula going in there, because I just want to. Cats, man. Yeah, I just want to try to force to see if mold happens, and that's one of the downsides with cocoa fiber is that if you put a lot of moisture into it, it develops mold fairly easy in my experience. Also, cocoa fiber, when you put a lot of moisture on it, it doesn't wick into the substrate very fast, very easily. I think that's why a lot of people tend to mix in vermiculite or topsoil with theirs. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get those enclosures set up and go ahead and we'll go from there. I am also going to actually use the rest of this in some new setups. I did get some new tarantulas, so I'm going to set up their enclosures with this as much as I can with this bag. This is an 8 dry quart bag, which is the equivalent of one of these bags of cocoa fiber, even though they look to be of different sizes. This one is much thinner, this one is much thicker. So they're the same, and they're about the same price. So if you're like me and you buy your cocoa fiber already loose instead of the bricks, you're going to be paying about the same for this. It's on Amazon. It's Prime shipping. If this works out, that's how I'm going to probably be getting it. It's a little bit cheaper on the on Lugarti's website, but I'm sure there's some shipping costs there associated with it. I didn't see any options for international shipping, so those of you that are international, I don't know if this would be a viable option for you yet. I don't know why my lighting is being weird. So yeah, we're gonna see how it performs. It looks good. I like the packaging. I know that that's probably just that's a silly thing, but hey, it looks nice. It looks premium. Looks like the Ferrari of Tarantula Substrates. So yeah, let's move on. We're gonna cut to the enclosures and I'm gonna show you what it looks like when we add moisture to them. Okay, so now we have two similar enclosures with similar ventilation. So we are going to fill them up each with the different substrates. And then I'm going to go ahead and pack them down. That's what it looks like after it is poured. Let's pour some of the premium. Oh, it just kind of came out a little clumpy there. Alright, more clumps. Okay. So, first thing I do notice is it does have some pieces, some small, soft pieces of something. That could be the clay. And like I was saying, I did notice there is a very obvious difference in the way that it looks. Feels fairly similar. But yeah, let's pack it down, each one of them here, and then we will introduce some moisture and see what happens. The Lugarti seems to pack down a little bit more. Doesn't seem quite as dense. Feels nice and soft, but still nothing too crazy in terms of difference between the two. Hoping that we will see something different when we add moisture here. So I'm really, like I said, going to add a lot more moisture than I normally would. Okay, let's see as far as immediate looks. So the cocoa fiber does have some pulled up moisture on the top. This one, the Lugarti, all of it wicked away immediately. I don't see any pulled up, so in my opinion, that's a good thing, because you don't want a lot of it staying on the surface. So yeah, so again the difference is you see all this moisture pulled up, and if you look here you'll see that as far as wet substrate goes, it's only pretty much the top. See how the moisture didn't really get down in here? See the color difference? Dark here because it's wet, nothing really there. It's going to be probably a little bit harder to tell because of the color, but if you see, the dark line looks like it has moved down a little bit more. Yeah, see, all the way down to here, which is what you want. You want the moisture to wick down so it doesn't sit on the top. So in that regard, so in the first test, which is just wicking away water, Lugarti seems to do a better job at that for sure. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to make a burrow, or at least something resembling a burrow, in each one. Because another thing that supposedly is nicer about this premium Tarantula Substrate is that you're supposed to be able to mold it, kind of like you would with like some excavator substrate, things like that. Because of that clay in there, it's supposed to be able to be molded, and it's supposed to be good for burrowing species. Now, I have made, in this one, I'm going to have to bring it up to you guys. I have made a burrow, starter burrow, so I kind of just put my fingers down in there, and it made it really easy, for one. Sorry, this is the cocoa fiber, still has not got all the moisture down into it. And see, like, when it does that, when the moisture just hangs out on the top, the minute you mix it, the moisture soaked substrate just kind of clumps together in these like lumps. So I'm going to try to then make a burrow like I did on the other one, and it doesn't, because I would have to then spray and mix up that substrate in order to make a burrow. But since I would have to keep doing this, I would have to keep spraying it and let it soak, and then I can start to, but once you get to the, okay, so it doesn't really work the same. I would have to keep moistening as I go down, because it doesn't wick down to the bottom layers. So again, I'd have to hand it to Lugarti there. That's pretty nice to be able to mold it right away. I know that there's other mixes that people do. It's off my hand here. I know that there's other mixes that people do to kind of overcome the downsides of eco-earth, cocoa fiber, stuff like that. But what I'm trying to just see is, as far as just an out of the bag experience. So if you wanted to just buy something that's ready to go, if you had eco-earth versus the premium Tarantula Substrate, this seems to be a better option. So what we're going to do next is I'm really going to soak both of these. We're going to put the lids back on, and we are just going to wait. See how fast they evaporate, see if any mold develops, those type of things. So I'm going to keep the lids on. I'm going to move them to my tarantula cabinet, and we will check back on them tomorrow, and we'll check back on them the next day. So yeah, when we cut back, that'll be what it is. Alright guys, so it's been about 2 days since the last part of this video. Just checking to see kind of how the substrate looks now that it's had time to set for a minute. This is the Lugarti. It still looks fairly damp. The hole that I dug is still there. Still looks nice and molded. There's still a little bit of condensation on the inside. It's only been about 2 days, so wouldn't expect it to dry out too much. But yeah, the water seems to have seeped down pretty much throughout the substrate, which is good. This is the regular cocoa fiber. If you look Looks like it's still mostly on the top layer. I don't see any condensation on the inside. Let's see if we can see if this hole is any better now. Well, the hole, it still won't easily hold a burrow, but I assume that if you mixed in water more and spent more time on it, I'm sure you could do that. Or you can make a mix with cocoa fiber, which is what I normally do, but we're just reviewing this as a straight out of the package type of substrate. So I'm going to try to see if they will wick water while moist. The cocoa fiber does seem to wick moisture away a little bit better now that it's already moist. And the Lugarti, same thing as it was straight out of the package. So yeah, I mean, I would say overall the Lugarti does seem better. Is it extremely better? I don't know, but in terms of pricing, it seems like the price is about the same as buying loose cocoa fiber, which is how I buy mine. So if the price is about the same and you already buy loose cocoa fiber, I would say the Lugarti seems like a better deal for the money, in my opinion. I will probably start trying to use Lugarti in my enclosures going forward. So I think they succeeded in converting me by sending me this sample. So yeah, I would say that, you know, there's still some other situations where you might want to use a different mix, and I still haven't really got conclusive evidence on whether this is more or less prone to mold, but we shall see in the future, and I will make sure to mention it in a future video if that does happen. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Check out Lugarti, I'll link them down below. They also got some cool, like, gold-plated tongs that I think I want to get. They're super extra, but, you know, maybe I am too. But yeah, so I'll be back from the surgery soon, and let you guys know how that went as soon as possible. But thanks for watching, and see you guys later.